still hear her whispers at night. They creep into my dreams and make me shiver. It all happened in a small village in Africa where I grew up. For years, we told stories about the wicked princess. Her name was Princess Carara. She lived in a big dark palace on a hill that loomed over our village like a shadow. The palace was old and crumbling, with vines hanging down like thick ropes. People said it was haunted by the souls of those who had crossed her. The villagers whispered that she could see into your soul and find your deepest fears. If you caught her eye, you would never be the same. One night, as we sat around a fire, an elder told the story of how Princess Carara had once been beautiful and kind. But when her father died, she became cold and cruel.
Princess Carara had once been beautiful and kind, but when her father died, she became cold and cruel. They said she wanted to be the most powerful person in the land. To do that, she needed to feed on the fears of others. That's when she turned wicked. She would lure people into the palace by pretending to be sweet and innocent, but once they entered, they would vanish. The villagers said she kept their souls trapped, feeding off their fears forever.
I could see the fear in my friend's eyes as we listened to the story, feeling the heat of the fire against our skin. I was scared too, but I was also curious. A few weeks later, my friends and I dared each other to go to the palace. We were scared but excited. As we walked up the overgrown path, the moon shone bright, making shadows dance around us. I could feel my heart race, thumping loudly in my chest. When we arrived at the palace, everything was silent. The air felt heavy, like a thick blanket. The night around us was still, except for the occasional rustle of leaves. We peered through a broken window. Inside, the walls were covered in strange pictures of people with terrified faces. Some looked like they were screaming. It sent chills down my spine. All my instincts told me to turn back, but somehow we couldn't. It was like an invisible force was pulling us in. I could almost hear the princess's laughter calling us, teasing us to come inside. Just as we were about to leave, we heard it. A soft voice echoing from the darkness. "Come closer," it said. The voice wrapped around me and I wanted to run, but I felt frozen. I glanced back at my friends. Their eyes were wide with fear, but I felt I had to be brave. So, I took a deep breath and stepped inside. As I entered the palace, the air turned cold, as if I'd walked into an icebox. A sickly, sweet smell filled my nose, making my stomach churn. I looked around and everything felt off. The floor creaked under my weight, and the shadows seemed to flicker, almost alive. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness. The princess looked exactly like the stories said, beautiful yet haunting, with dark hair that flowed like a river down her back. Her eyes glowed in the dim light, and I felt my heart stop. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice shaking. She stepped closer, her presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. "I want to play a game," she whispered, her voice like smooth silk. It sent shivers down my spine. I could feel a strange pull to her, and I knew I shouldn't trust her. But I was curious, even as fear gnawed at me. A part of me wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the cold floor. Her laughter echoed through the hall, filling me with dread.
"It will be fun,"
she said, tilting her head, her smile widening. "Just a little game. Don't you want to play?" I tried to think, tried to remember what the story said about her. My heart raced faster, and my mind scrambled for a way out. I glanced at the door we'd entered through, but just then, it slammed shut with a loud bang. Panic washed over me as I ran to it, pushing against the heavy wood. It wouldn't budge. "Help! Let us out!" I screamed, my voice breaking. I could hear my friends outside screaming back, but I felt trapped. The princess circled around me, her laughter echoing against the stone walls.
Why would you want to leave?
She asked playfully.
We've just begun.
Her eyes bore into mine, and I felt like she was looking right through me, searching for my weak spots. I remembered the stories about what happened to those who angered her. They vanished without a trace. Fear wrapped around me like a thick fog. In that moment, I realized she was feeding off our fear, drawing strength from our terror. Just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I remembered the old tale about how you could break her spell. It said you needed to laugh in the face of your fears. With all the courage I could muster, I turned to her and said, "You think you can scare me? I'm not afraid of you." Her eyes widened, and the smile faltered for a moment. But before I could get the words out, she let out a shriek that echoed through the palace like thunder.
You think you can escape me?
She snarled. I could feel the air growing colder, and the shadows around her wriggled and twisted like snakes. Just then, I remembered my friends. "We have to leave, now," I yelled, my voice stronger than before. I ran back to the door, throwing my weight against it with all my might. To my surprise, it creaked and opened just enough for me to slip through. I sprinted outside, gasping for air. My friends stood there, eyes wide, backs against the wall of the palace. They looked so frightened, and seeing them gave me strength. "Run!" I shouted, and we bolted down the hill, not daring to look back. As we raced through the forest, I could hear her laughter following us, echoing through the night. The trees seemed to whisper her name, and my heart pounded in my chest. Each step felt like a lifetime. Just as we reached the edge of the village, we paused, breathless. I glanced back, and for a brief moment I thought I saw her figure in the window looking down at us. Her smile was gone, replaced by a glare of pure fury.
You can't hide forever,
she called out, her voice like a cold wind cutting through the night. We reached our village, and I could still hear her laughter ringing in my ears. It haunted our dreams for weeks. Even now, I can't shake the feeling that she's still out there, waiting and watching. Sometimes, late at night when the wind howls and the shadows move, I hear her whispers again. I tell myself it's just a memory, just a story. But deep down, I know that the wicked princess is still out there, hungry for new souls to play her terrible games. And I pray I never have to return to that dark palace again.
I know you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and kindly subscribe to my channel for more useful information videos, and endeavor to click the share button to share this video link to others to enjoy it. Don't forget to kindly subscribe to my Facebook page for other contents.